You feel it, don't you? It's not a sharp pain, but a constant, low-grade hum of mental noise. It's the feeling of being perpetually behind, of having a dozen browser tabs open in your mind, each one demanding a piece of your attention. You wake up and the first thing you reach for is your phone, a portal to a swirling vortex of unread emails, breaking news alerts, social media updates, and endless demands from the world. You're trying to focus on a single task at work, but your phone buzzes with a group chat notification. A headline flashes across your screen, designed to provoke an immediate emotional response. An email lands with an urgent subject line. Each one of these is a small paper cut on your focus, and by midday, you're bleeding attention. You feel scattered, mentally exhausted, and yet paradoxically, you feel you've accomplished nothing of substance. This state is information overload, and it is the defining challenge to our capacity for clarity and inner peace in the modern world. This isn't just a feeling, it's a physiological reality. Your nervous system, which evolved to handle acute, short-term threats like a predator in the savannah, is now being constantly bombarded with digital stimuli it interprets as micro-threats. Every notification, every alarming headline, every urgent request sends a small signal to your amygdala, the brain's ancient alarm system. The amygdala doesn't distinguish between a tiger and a stressful email. It just registers a potential demand on your resources. In response, it triggers the release of stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. In the short term, this is helpful. But when it happens dozens, even hundreds of times a day, your body enters a chronic, low-grade fight-or-flight state. Cortisol levels remain elevated, which impairs your prefrontal cortex, the very part of your brain responsible for rational thought, long-term planning, and impulse control. This is why when you're overwhelmed, you find it harder to make good decisions, why you procrastinate on important tasks, and why your emotional reactions are often disproportionate to the trigger. You are literally less intelligent and less emotionally stable when your mind is cluttered. From a cognitive behavioral therapy perspective, this constant influx of data overloads your working memory, a concept known as cognitive load. When your cognitive load is maxed out, deep focus becomes nearly impossible. The automatic reaction is to flit from one stimulus to the next, seeking a dopamine hit from clearing a notification or reading a new piece of information, but never settling long enough to do meaningful work. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, faced a different kind of information overload. He managed a sprawling empire, dealt with wars, plagues, and constant political intrigue. He didn't have smartphones, but he had endless reports, petitions, and advisors demanding his attention. In his private journal, which we now know as Meditations, he developed and refined a system for maintaining his sanity and effectiveness amidst this chaos. He understood a profound truth: the quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. He urged himself to constantly define and describe the impression that presents itself to the mind, so as to see it as it is in its essence, naked, complete, and whole. He recognized that most of what clamors for our attention is not essential to our well-being. From this insight, he developed a powerful technique we can call thought triage. This isn't about ignoring reality or burying your head in the sand. It is the exact opposite. It's about engaging with reality on your own terms, consciously sorting through the barrage of mental and external impressions before they can take root in your mind and dictate your emotional state. The practice is a simple yet profoundly effective mental filter. It consists of asking 3 critical questions whenever a new piece of information, a new demand, or a new thought vies for your attention. Before you react, before you click, before you worry, you pause and interrogate the impression. First, is this essential? And by essential, the Stoics meant something very specific. Is this related to my virtue, my character, my primary duties, my well-being, or the well-being of those I am responsible for? You will quickly find that the vast majority of information, celebrity gossip, political squabbles on social media, speculative news about events you cannot influence, is non-essential. It is noise, not signal. Second, Is this within my control? This question is the heart of Stoicism, drawing from Epictetus's dichotomy of control. Can I do something about this right now? The stock market's fluctuation, a comment a stranger made online, the weather for your weekend plans, these are external events beyond your direct control. Worrying about them is, as Seneca said, to suffer before it is necessary. Your focus should be on what is yours to command, your choices, your responses, your actions. Third, does this serve my purpose? This requires you to have a purpose, even if it's just for the next hour. Is your purpose to write a report? Then a notification about a sale at your favorite store does not serve that purpose. Is your purpose to be present with your family at dinner? Then a work email does not serve that purpose. This question anchors you to your intentions. The payoff of this practice is immediate. The moment you begin to apply this triage, you will feel a subtle but distinct shift. You move from being a passive victim of the information deluge to being the active, discerning guardian of your own mind. The mental chatter subsides. The feeling of being overwhelmed begins to recede, replaced by a sense of agency and control. You are no longer a leaf blown about by the winds of digital distraction. You are the captain of your ship, navigating with purpose. The expected result is a measurable reduction in daily anxiety and a significant increase in your ability to concentrate. Your mind, freed from the burden of processing irrelevant data, can now dedicate its resources to what truly matters. Do this today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today. For the next single hour, make a conscious commitment. Every time a new thought, a new notification, or a new piece of information demands your attention, pause for just 2 seconds. Run it through the 3 questions. Is it essential? Is it controllable? Does it serve your purpose? You don't need to do anything else. Just label it in your mind. This simple act of sorting is the first step toward reclaiming your mental sovereignty. You are taking back the keys to your own mind. From that initial practice of sorting thoughts, we now move to fortifying the mind itself. How do you make this triage process not just a one-time action, but an automatic, protective habit? Continuing from that initial practice of sorting thoughts, we now move to fortifying the mind itself. You've experienced a brief moment of clarity by applying the triage, a fleeting sense of control. But the world doesn't stop. The digital sirens continue to call, promising novelty, connection, and urgency. The old habits, the reflexive checking of your phone, the compulsive need to clear every notification badge, are deeply ingrained. You might feel a pang of FOMO, the fear of missing out, as you consciously decide to ignore a piece of information. This is the moment of truth. A single act of triage is a battle won, but building a resilient mind requires winning the war. How do you make this filtering process not just a conscious, effortful action, but an automatic, protective habit that defines your mental environment? The answer lies in transforming your mind from an open marketplace where any vendor can shout for your attention into a well-guarded citadel. This transformation is rooted in the science of neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a fixed object. It is a dynamic network of pathways that are constantly being rewired based on your behavior. Every time you give in to a random distraction, every time you abandon a task to check an email or scroll through a social feed, you strengthen the neural pathway for distraction. You are, in effect, training your brain to be distractible. The dopamine hit you get from the novelty of new information acts as a powerful reinforcement, making the habit even stronger. Conversely, every time you successfully apply the thought triage and consciously return your focus to your intended task, you are weakening the distraction pathway and carving a new, more deliberate one. You are literally reshaping your brain to favor focus. Modern neuroscience has also identified a phenomenon called attentional residue. Research from Sophie Leroy at the University of Washington shows that when you switch from one task to another, a part of your attention stays stuck on the previous task. Even a quick 2-second glance at your inbox leaves a cognitive footprint that degrades your performance on your primary objective. By allowing constant interruptions, you are operating with a permanently fractured and diminished intellect. The Stoic approach is a form of proactive cognitive restructuring, a core technique in CBT. Instead of just dealing with negative thoughts after they arise, you are architecting your mental environment to prevent them from arising in the first place. You are not just reacting, you are designing. The Stoics had a powerful metaphor for this process. Seneca, in his letters, often spoke of the mind as a kingdom or a citadel. The reasoning faculty, what they called praxis, is the ruler of this kingdom. A wise ruler doesn't leave the city gates wide open for anyone to wander in. A wise ruler establishes checkpoints, vets visitors, and decides who and what is allowed to enter. Your attention is the most precious resource in your kingdom. To give it away indiscriminately is to allow your inner citadel to be overrun by chaos. Seneca wrote, "Let all your efforts be directed to something. Let it keep that end in view." It's not activity that disturbs people, but false conceptions of things that drive them mad. The principle here is about moving from a reactive defense to a proactive one. Thought triage is your gatekeeper, but a truly secure citadel also has strong walls and a clear schedule for when the gates are even open. You must be the architect of these defenses. The practice for building these walls is the scheduled information intake ritual. It's a simple but radical shift in your relationship with technology and information. Instead of letting information munge its way into your day whenever it wants, you decide when you will it in. This means turning off all non-essential notifications on your phone and computer. No pop-ups, no badges, no sounds. You are silencing the sirens. Then you create designated, scheduled windows for information intake. For example, you might decide to check and process email only twice a day, once at 9:30 a.m. and once at 4 p.m. Outside of those windows, your email program remains closed. You might check the news for 15 minutes in the morning and that's it. You might check social media for 20 minutes during your lunch break. The specific schedule is yours to design, but the principle is non-negotiable. You are in command. To supplement this, you can use a mindfulness technique called notice and name. When a distracting thought inevitably arises outside of your scheduled windows, I wonder if I got a reply to that email. You don't fight it. You simply notice it and mentally label it without judgment, email thought. Then you gently guide your focus back to the task at hand. This practice, borrowed from mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, decouples the thought from the compulsive urge to act on it. You see the thought as a passing cloud, not a command. The payoff for building your citadel is profound. You will experience a dramatic increase in your ability to perform deep work, the kind of focused, high-value cognitive effort that produces real results and fulfillment. The background hum of anxiety will diminish because you've created a system you can trust. You know that important information won't be missed, it will simply be addressed at the appropriate scheduled time. This frees up immense mental bandwidth. Your focus becomes sharper, your thinking clearer, and your work more creative. You will end your days feeling not drained and scattered, but accomplished and calm. The expected result is not just higher productivity, but a deeper sense of inner peace and control over your life. Your task for today is to begin construction. Choose just one source of information. Email is a great place to start. Schedule 2 specific times tomorrow when you will check it. Put these times in your calendar. Then turn off all notifications for that application. For the rest of the day, honor those boundaries. This single act of architectural design is the first stone laid in the wall of your inner citadel. But as you build these walls, a new question arises. What happens when an intrusive negative thought gets past the gates despite our best efforts? So you've built the walls of your citadel with scheduled information intake, and you've posted guards at the gates using the thought triage questions. Your mental kingdom is more orderly, more peaceful. But the mind is a complex territory. What happens when an enemy is not at the gates but seems to arise from within? What do you do when an intrusive negative thought, a spy, manages to slip past your defenses and start spreading panic in the streets of your mind? This is not a notification you can silence or an email you can schedule. This is a powerful, emotionally charged thought that derails you completely. A sudden, vivid worry about a future presentation, a sharp, cringe-worthy memory of a past mistake, a wave of self-criticism that announces you're not good enough. These thoughts feel different. They don't ask for your attention, they seize it. They feel urgent, personal, and, most dangerously, they feel. This is where the deepest and most transformative Stoic work begins. To understand how to handle these inner spies, we must look at the neuroscience of rumination. When your mind is not focused on a specific external task, it enters a state governed by the default mode network. This is the network responsible for mind wandering, self-reflection, and thinking about the past and future. While essential for creativity and planning, the DMN can easily get stuck in a negative feedback loop, replaying worries and grievances over and over. This is rumination. From a CBT perspective, these intrusive thoughts are often classic cognitive distortions. For example, the thought, "this presentation will be a disaster," is a form of catastrophizing, predicting the worst possible outcome. The feeling of anxiety that follows can lead to emotional reasoning, the false belief that because I feel anxious, there must be a real danger. The automatic, untrained reaction to such a thought is to fuse with it. You don't see it as a thought, you see it as a direct reflection of reality. The thought, "I am a failure," is experienced not as a transient piece of mental syntax, but as a fundamental truth about your identity. This fusion gives the thought immense power, triggering a full-blown stress response and hijacking your emotional state. This is where we turn to the pinnacle of Stoic psychology, a principle articulated most clearly by the freed slave and philosopher Epictetus. He taught, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." This is one of the most liberating ideas in all of philosophy. The initial intrusive thought, the worry, the self-criticism, is just an impression. It is a raw piece of data. It is like a messenger arriving at the gates of your citadel with a report. The report itself is neutral. It is just information. The disturbance, the panic, the suffering does not come from the report. It comes from the ruler's, your, immediate and uncritical assent to it. To assent is to agree with the impression, to endorse it, to judge it as true and important. The untrained mind assents automatically. The messenger shouts, "We are doomed," and the ruler immediately starts ringing the alarm bells, causing chaos in the kingdom. The Stoic trained mind, however, does something different. The wise ruler hears the report and says, "Thank you for the information. Now let me examine it." The power lies not in preventing the messenger from arriving, but in the space you create between the impression and your assent. The practice for creating this space is called cognitive distancing. It is a set of micro skills designed to help you observe your thoughts without becoming entangled in them. It has 3 core steps. Step 1, objectify the thought. The moment you catch a powerful negative thought, you must change the language you use to describe it. Instead of thinking, "I am anxious," you rephrase it as, "I am noticing the feeling of anxiety." Instead of "I am a failure," you rephrase it as, "I am having the thought that I am a failure." This simple linguistic shift is incredibly powerful. It takes the thought from being a core part of your identity and turns it into a transient mental event that you are observing. You are no longer the thought, you are the space in which the thought is occurring. Step 2, thank your mind. This may seem counterintuitive, but it's a crucial step derived from modern acceptance and commitment therapy, a psychotherapy with deep Stoic roots. Your brain isn't trying to hurt you. That anxious thought is a product of an ancient survival mechanism trying to protect you from potential threats. So you silently say, "Thank you, mind, for trying to protect me with this warning." This act of acknowledgement, rather than conflict, reduces the internal struggle. You are not fighting your mind. You are calmly listening to a well-intentioned but sometimes overzealous advisor. Step 3, withhold assent. This is the final decisive action. Having observed the thought and acknowledged its source, you now make a conscious, deliberate choice. You say to yourself, "This is just an impression. It is a report, not a fact. I do not have to agree with it. I will not give it my assent right now." Notice you are not trying to argue with the thought, suppress it, or replace it with a positive one. You are simply refusing to endorse it. You are letting the messenger stand in the courtyard without being invited into the throne room. You are letting the thought be without letting it become you. The payoff of mastering this practice is nothing short of life-changing. It is the key to breaking the debilitating cycle of rumination and anxiety. You begin to realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the stable, calm observer of your thoughts. The emotional charge of negative thinking diminishes dramatically because you are cutting off the fuel supply, your belief in them. This leads to a profound sense of emotional regulation and resilience. You can experience a negative thought without having a negative experience. This is the essence of Stoic tranquility. Your practice for today is to be ready for the spy. The next time a strong, intrusive negative thought arises, do not fight it. Do not run from it. Become the wise ruler. Walk through the 3 steps. First, rephrase it. I am having the thought that. Second, acknowledge its intent. Thank you, mind. Third, make your choice. I withhold my assent. Do it just once. Observe the space that opens up. Notice the shift from being a prisoner of the thought to being the guardian of your own peace. Having practiced sorting information, building your defenses, and managing the thoughts that get through, the final step is to consolidate these gains. A deliberate day must be followed by a deliberate evening to prepare for a deliberate tomorrow. Having practiced sorting external information with thought triage, building your mental defenses with the citadel of the mind, and managing internal thoughts by withholding assent, the final crucial step is to consolidate these gains. A day lived with intention can easily unravel if it's followed by a chaotic evening and a restless night. The final practice is about closing the loop, ensuring that the clarity you cultivated today becomes the foundation for the tranquility you would experience tomorrow. A deliberate day must be followed by a deliberate evening to prepare for a deliberate tomorrow. Think of the end of a typical mentally cluttered day. Even after you've shut your laptop, your mind is still racing. It's replaying stressful conversations, second-guessing decisions you made, and, most exhaustingly, pre-worrying about tomorrow's endless to-do list. You try to relax, but your brain is stuck in problem-solving mode, running through scenarios and anxieties. This mental churn follows you to bed, leading to difficulty falling asleep, restless nights, and waking up already feeling behind. This isn't just a matter of comfort, it's a critical issue of cognitive and emotional health. The neuroscience is unequivocal on this point. Sleep is not a passive state of rest, it is an active, vital process of mental and emotional housekeeping. During the rapid eye movement stage of sleep, your brain works to process the emotional experiences of the day, stripping away the intense feelings from memories so you can learn from them without being constantly re-traumatized. This process, governed by the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, is essential for emotional regulation. However, if you go to bed with a mind full of unresolved cognitive loops, anxieties, and a high level of the stress hormone cortisol, this delicate process is disrupted. Your brain can't effectively file away the day's events, and you wake up with the same emotional baggage you went to sleep with. This primes your amygdala to be more reactive the next day, making you more susceptible to anxiety and stress. Scientific studies on the benefits of journaling, specifically expressive writing, have shown that the simple act of offloading your thoughts and worries onto a page has a powerful therapeutic effect. It reduces rumination and intrusive thoughts by giving them a concrete external home. This act of externalization frees up cognitive resources in your working memory, effectively lowering your mental load before sleep and allowing the prefrontal cortex to regain its regulatory control from an overactive, emotionally driven amygdala. The Stoics, with their deep understanding of human psychology, knew this intuitively. Seneca, writing to his brother in Avidai, detailed his personal practice of a nightly review. He wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by." This was not an exercise in harsh self-criticism or shame. It was a calm, objective audit, like a merchant reviewing the day's ledger. The goal was not to punish himself for errors, but to understand his own patterns, to learn from his mistakes, and to reinforce his successes. This practice served two purposes. It ensured he was living in alignment with his values, and it brought a sense of closure to the day, allowing his mind to rest peacefully. It is the ultimate act of taking responsibility for your own character and your own tranquility. By reviewing the day, you are affirming that your inner state is your most important project. We can adapt Seneca's rigorous examination into a simple, accessible, and highly effective modern ritual, the Stoic Evening Journal. This isn't a Dear Diary entry. It is a structured, purposeful audit that takes no more than 5 to 10 minutes. Before bed, away from screens, you take a notebook and answer 3 specific prompts. First, where did my attention serve me well today? This question directs your mind to your successes. Did you hold your focus during an important meeting? Did you successfully use the thought triage on a distracting notification? Were you fully present during a conversation with a loved one? By consciously acknowledging these wins, you are using the principle of positive reinforcement to strengthen the neural pathways associated with focus and intention. Second, where did I give my attention away unnecessarily? This is the learning component. It is a non-judgmental inquiry. Did you get lost in a social media scroll? Did you let a non-urgent email derail your morning? Did you assent to a negative thought and let it spiral? You are not scolding yourself. You are simply collecting data, like a scientist observing an experiment. Identifying the pattern is the first and most important step to changing it. Third, what one thing can I do tomorrow to better guard my focus? This final question transforms reflection into action. Based on your answer to the previous question, you set a single, clear, and controllable intention for the next day. Perhaps it's, I will keep my phone in another room for the first hour of my workday. Or, I will practice the cognitive distancing technique on the first anxious thought I notice. This primes your brain for success and ensures that your learning is carried forward. The payoff of this evening ritual is a profound sense of closure. It acts as a mental reset, drawing a firm line between the day that has passed and the restorative night to come. It systematically reduces pre-sleep anxiety and the rumination that so often sabotages our rest. You are externalizing your worries and plans, trusting that they are safely stored on the page, ready to be picked up tomorrow if needed. This practice creates a virtuous cycle. A deliberate evening leads to better sleep, which leads to a calmer and more regulated nervous system in the morning, which in turn makes it easier to live a focused and intentional day. Your sleep quality improves. Your morning cortisol levels decrease. You wake up feeling not depleted, but restored and ready. Do this today. Tonight, before you go to sleep, put your phone away. Take just 5 minutes with a notebook or a piece of paper. Answer those 3 questions. Where did my attention serve me? Where did it stray? What is my one intention for tomorrow? Feel the mental release as you close the book on the day. You are the guardian of your mind. Tonight, you close the gates. Tomorrow, you will open them with intention. That is the path to tranquility.